This is the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
Gary in the Bronx, nice to have you on the air, sir. Welcome.
So my question is, I got young kids at home. I'm becoming more and more Catholic as the years go on. My eyes are like open now.
Great.
And I'm realizing that everything is, not so good. Honestly, everything's satanic. Everything. The billboards, the bus stops, the movies, our culture. So Halloween's coming up. I just want to know, as Catholics, how are we supposed to celebrate, with the kids and all that?
Yeah, so I guess the question for many people is, should we celebrate Halloween? And when the topic comes up on the program, I share from my own experience growing up as a kid in the 1960s. We celebrated Halloween like everyone else did, and it was just an evening of trick-or-treat. Of course, as with any holiday or pseudo-holiday, the world of the merchants and advertising and products and things, they build and build and build, and suddenly it can become something far bigger than what you would think of, would be appropriate. But as to the question, should you, could you, may you, ought you to celebrate Halloween, I think the answer is you may. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, because you're celebrating, first of all, this is a secularized version of what once was the way some people celebrated the evening before All Saints' Day, and that would be kind of a feast, party, revelry, the big feast day the following day. Mardi Gras as a kind of parallel, not a perfect parallel, not an exact parallel, but a kind of parallel, where Ash Wednesday, the next day, you're going to be fasting and abstaining from meat, etc. So it was not uncommon for Catholic folk to celebrate the night before. And Fat Tuesday, obviously with the meaning of you're going to eat more on Tuesday because you're going to eat less on Wednesday kind of thing. So it's a human tendency to want to celebrate things like that. It's not something that the church says you must do this. The church says we do celebrate All Saints' Day and then All Souls' Day the following day. But human beings, being who we are, we tend to do the Mardi Gras kind of thing, or we do the celebration before All Saints' Day, etc. So with that in mind, I would say, first of all, we're dealing with a secularized version of that morphed into a focus on the dead, but not in a holy way, but in a more secular, like ghosts and black cats and skeletons and even witches and things like that. So that is what it became in these United States. And to my mind, if you're going to participate in that and do so in a way that doesn't glorify or promote witchcraft or anything like that, yes, I think you may indeed, with a clear conscience, have your children enjoy Halloween. Now, my parents didn't really guide us too much in terms of like what kind of costumes we could wear, with the exception that there was nothing that could be in any way devilish or witchcraft related. So I went as a pirate, I went as a caveman, I went as a spaceman, I went as a whatever, just harmless, benign kind of costumes, and my sisters and brothers as well. The way Nancy and I raised our kids, just by way of anecdotal background, is we guided our children when they would go out to do trick-or-treat, which we were always with them, was to dress up as saints. So they had saint costumes, and St. Teresa of Avila, or Pope John Paul II before he was a saint. Nancy made a complete papal outfit with the chasuble and a mitre and a crozier and all that stuff. And St. Michael the Archangel was another costume that passed down through the boys, with a breastplate and angel wings and a sword and that stuff. So when our kids would go out to do trick-or-treat, invariably, they would be asked, oh, well, who are you dressed up as? Oh, I'm St. Michael the Archangel, or I'm St. Teresa of Avila, or I'm Pope John Paul II. So there was an added benefit in the case of our kids, and I know many Catholic families do this. It's not unique to us. But for our kids, there was a benefit that they were actually, in their own kind of sort of way, doing some evangelization. They were out there, or as the Bible says, you are in the world, but not of the world. So they weren't fleeing from it. We didn't flee from it. We didn't barricade the doors and say, there will be no pumpkins in this house, or none of that kind of stuff. They participated, but they they brought the truth of something godly into that. And that was paying attention to the saints. So my thought, Gary, is that if you choose to celebrate Halloween, this secular holiday, I think it's a great idea if your kids inject the faith into it and if they trick or treat with these costumes of saints. I think it's a good way, a little way, but a good way to share the faith. Now, I do respect people who say, nope, not going to do it, not going to celebrate Halloween. I don't agree with that, but I respect it. And if people say we don't want any connection whatsoever, I myself don't go in that direction, but I can respect people who do because they want to put their conscience first, which is what people should do. So ultimately, I'll leave it at this. It's not for me to say, should you or shouldn't you, may you do this, may you not do this. But I think if you decide to do that, that there's a great way to go about it so that your kids are not in any way compromised. Those are my thoughts, Gary.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I grew up celebrating kind of like the evil version of what you were just talking about. I grew up Catholic, but I really didn't know anything.
Well, see, you're a great example, Gary, of the lyric from the song, "I once was blind, but now I see." Amazing Grace. Not my favorite song, but everybody knows it. And that kind of describes you. You see the world now with different eyes because you've emerged from that darkness that you were in before. My advice, if you're looking for advice, would be to just keep that going and instill that way of looking at life in the eyes of your children. And if you feel like trick or treat is going to be detrimental to your kids, then don't trick or treat. Do something different. Do something, let's have a popcorn night and we'll watch a fun movie or something like that. I mean, there are any number of ways to deal with it, but I think you're definitely going in the right direction. You want to wean away from anything that would take you away from Jesus, right?
Exactly. And you want to protect the kids.
Absolutely. This entire episode of The Patrick Madrid Show is on the Relevant Radio app. The Relevant Radio app is completely free and updated daily with fresh articles, podcasts, and prayers. Don't delay. Download the app today. And thanks for listening.